What are some common stoner myths that you still hear to this day that make you chuckle? I think there's a lot of common like stereotypes or stoner myths that people still believe to this day that are just simply not true. Like, all stoners are paranoid and lazy and all they do is get high and watch stoner movies. I think it's a bit more complex than that, and that kind of thought process only paints like stoners into like a small little corner or something, but everybody smokes. Everybody's a stoner. Every different kind of person might smoke. So it's not just one type or one subset group of people. But what are some stoner myths that you've heard about? I talk about a lot of this stuff on my Twitch stream, and I have talked about a few of these in some of my other videos, but I make a lot of videos. So the first one I want to address, and this is one that gets brought up a lot, but the phrase is, you gotta cough to get off. Now just think about that for a second. You have to cough to get high? Imagine if you had to cough to get high. If I had to cough every time I smoked to get high, I wouldn't smoke anymore. You wouldn't be watching these videos. I would have given up on it because that sounds terrible. You have to cough to get high. Coughing is one of the worst things that you do when you smoke. Excessive coughing just makes you more likely to cough because you're just causing irreversible damage to your throat. But you can also damage your blood vessels. You can rupture your diaphragm. People have cracked ribs from coughing. I've talked about this a few times, and I've read over a dozen comments of somebody telling me they've cracked a rib from coughing. You know how bad a cracked rib hurts? You're just in terrible pain because you wanted to get high or higher. You might be able to make the argument, some people do say, oh, but when I do cough, it gets me higher. But I would argue that when you do cough, it's only gonna get you maybe a little higher on that one hit, but then you're not able to take as big of a hit on your next hit or a hit as soon. I would say if you don't cough on your hits, you're able to get through more, you're able to get higher. And people that don't cough on their hits usually take bigger hits. This is something that I've noticed. People that cough on every rip that they take aren't taking massive monster hits. Most people that are coughing on every hit just take like a medium-sized hit, but it irritates their throat so much that they cough because they've been coughing so much every time they get high. If you're just allowing coughs to happen and you're not trying to slow them down at all, like you're just causing damage to your throat. I like to take massive rips, and I would argue that taking a huge rip gets you higher than taking a medium-sized rip and coughing on it. I actually made a video the other day about resin lips, if you saw, and a lot of the comments I got in the video, people are like, I've never had this happen to me, I've never heard this, I've never seen this before. But I posted a video on my Instagram of me getting resin lips in real time. I took one hit and literally both of my lips had like a nice little coat of resin on it. That only happens when you take massive rips. There's a few factors as far as like the piece goes, water temperature, how tight your bowl is packed. There's a few other factors that can help adjust that or help change that, but you only get resin lips from massive hits. So I'm learning some people just don't take big hits. No big deal. But if you're going into your smoke sesh every night thinking I have to cough or I'm not going to get high, stop that mindset. You're just doing damage to your body. If you only smoke every now and then and you cough on it, that's not as big of a deal. But if you're a daily user, a nightly user, and you're just going into a coughing fit every night, you're going to sound like this and you're going to love chocolate in the future. So just ease up on the coughing. The next one I want to address, and this one kind of goes a little bit with the last one, but you don't have to hold in your hits. There's people out there that hold in their hits for 3 seconds, 10 seconds, hold their hit for a minute, and they think that after a minute, they're getting like 100 times as high. You're just depriving your brain of oxygen when you hold your breath. And that can happen when you go into a coughing fit. Some people might feel higher because when they're in a coughing fit, they're not able to breathe regularly and get the oxygen to their brain like they normally do. So if you want to get lightheaded, if you want to feel that lightheaded sensation, just hold your breath. You don't gotta smoke to do it. Don't swallow your hits. Don't hold nasty smoke in your lungs. If you're hitting vapor, it's not as bad for you to hold it in there. It's not as dirty, essentially, as like combusted smoke is. But bruh, if you're out there smoking like nasty, disgusting blunts or something and you're chiefing it heavy and you're just holding on to that in your lungs, I feel bad for your lungs. The next stoner myth I want to talk about, and a lot of people are gonna have their own thoughts on this, but people say that weed isn't addicting, and that's totally a myth. You can get addicted to anything, bro. There's people addicted to very weird things out there. You can get addicted to eating cheeseburgers and going on walks and watching certain shows. You can get addicted to anything. You ever seen that show, My Strange Addiction? There was people on there that used to do stuff like eat sand and rocks, and they were addicted to it. You can literally get addicted to anything. Don't think just because you heard one person say, oh, weed's not addicting. That's true. You can literally get addicted to video games. You can get addicted to playing slots. You can get addicted to anything. Don't think that weed is the one magic thing on the planet that you can't get addicted to. There's tons of people out there suffering or struggling with a weed addiction. They just can't control themselves. They can't moderate themselves. There's a lot of people out there that just get into heavy smoking, tons of daily use. They basically just over smoke, and then they type into Google, how long do I take a tolerance break? They take a couple weeks off, and then they get right back into their bad habits. Your average person that's asking about a tolerance break or looking to take a tolerance break has a weed addiction, and they just can't stop smoking all day, every day. They can't stop waking, baking. They can't stop smoking too much. Their only options are smoke all day, every day, or don't smoke at all. And there's a better way to do it. I have a few videos about there on tolerance fixes, or I call tolerance breaks a scam. But usually my advice for somebody's tolerance is don't wake and bake. Go through your whole day before you decide to smoke. I usually only do my smoking 9 p.m. Eastern live on Twitch, but I go through the whole day. I only smoke in like a 4 or 5 hour window. So there's 19 to 20 hours out of a day, every day, that I don't smoke. That's my tolerance break. I take 20 hours off every day, and I don't smoke the first thing that I do when I wake up. Some people, the last thing they do before they go to sleep is smoke, and the first thing that they do when they wake up is smoke. They haven't had a chance to feel normal yet, so they don't know what the difference between high and normal is, and everything blends together, and you just start feeling medium, and you can't really get high anymore. Don't think that weed isn't addicting. You can get addicted to anything. Here's another one that I think is funny, because I hear it every now and then. I have a pretty broad audience, people of all ages, and I hear this sometimes from like the older crowd, but some people genuinely believe that weed isn't as strong as it used to be. There's people out there that think that when they were getting the mids pack back in the 80s and 90s or whatever, that they were getting better and stronger stuff than we're getting today. I mean, they were probably getting some moldy 4% brick weed from Mexico or something. Like, I have no idea, but if you've ever looked up pictures from like weed back in the day, you can see stuff in like High Times magazine has been around for a while. You can find like old articles or older pictures, but some of the stuff that I've seen from back in the day is absolutely terrible. It looks so bad. I don't know. I still hear this every now and then. I don't know if it's a joke, because I'm like, wait, they're serious. They think that the mids they were smoking 20, 30 years ago is better than the stuff that they can get now. I don't know. Maybe I'll get a time machine one day and I'll go back to the 90s and be like, oh, dude, I was so wrong. Maybe there's some cannabinoids that we've lost along the way because we're all hunting the highest THC percent. I don't know. Maybe it's true. I don't believe that one. Nobody really does, right? But I still hear it. People still think it. That's still a myth. People think weed was stronger back when they can get it at Woodstock, when they're cornering bowls and smoking out of like the weirdest stuff. Anyway, the last one. This one's controversial. I've talked about it before. Some people will die on the hill or try to argue this with me. But come on, bro. People still think there's only 2 kinds of highs. People think that there's an upper high and a downer high, and that's it. You go into the dispensary, they have 30, 40 strain options, but you're only going to have 2 different effects out of that? Come on, bro. There's more than 2 kinds of highs. Stop making it so simple. You can't you can't do a lab test to measure how much sativa is in something. They just tell you how much sativa is in it based off what the plant looked like. Like, seriously, couch lock, you think that you're going to get locked in the couch because you smoked something that said Indica on it? Just don't sit on the couch. Or do a 1 gram dab of sativa, sit on the couch, and try not to get couch locked. Trust me, you won't be able to do it. There's way more than 2 kinds of highs, guys. I need you to understand. There's different kinds of highs, whether you're combusting. There's different kinds of highs from vaporizing at different temperatures, because you're getting different terpenes and cannabinoids. You're going to get different kinds of highs from eating edibles. You might feel a different kind of high from like a high distillate edible. And then you might feel like a different kind of high from like a high full spectrum edible, like an RSO or something. You might feel 2 different highs from taking the same dose of edibles on 2 different days. You might feel different kinds of highs from smoking the same strain on 2 different days. It's a bit more complex than these are our uppers and these are our downers. I genuinely feel bad for how sativa's been marketed over the years. Like, they market it like it's crack and coffee combined or something. Like, people think that when they smoke a sativa that they're just gonna do some crazy shit. They're gonna get wired with energy. It's like they just chugged 6 Red Bulls and they snorted a line or something. I have no idea what goes on in people's minds when they think they can't smoke sativa. But it's really like the placebo is a son of a bitch. Like, if you genuinely believe that you can't smoke sativa, I believe you. But I also believe that you've maybe smoked some stuff back in the day that people would label 40%, 30% sativa, and maybe higher than that, and you didn't really notice. It's weird. That's a tricky one. Some people are like, oh my God, don't even say sativa near me. So I feel for those people, because I believe that you believe that you can't smoke sativa, but there's nothing under a microscope or in a lab test that's saying that, oh, this is this much sativa. It's cannabinoids and terpenes. It's not sativa and indica. That's silly. That's like a disservice we've been doing for everybody for a while, and it makes smoking confusing for some people. Either way, if you like this video, hit me with a like, comment some stoner myths that you may have heard. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. What? You don't subscribe? And if you're looking to join me for a smoke sesh, I get high on Twitch every night after 9 p.m. Eastern. Stop by for a smoke sesh. And if you haven't checked out my secondary clips channel, I just dropped a video yesterday, my fast food tier list. So if you want to see which fast food places I like the best, check out this video right here. I hope you have a lit day, my dudes. Don't forget to subscribe to the clips channel too. Peace out.